Today's interview is with Natasha. She has some real key learning points that she has learnt running her own small business.
And be prepared to take some criticisms and then use that and turn it around to make it better.
So listen out for those as you watch this video, because it might really help guide you as you're thinking up your business ideas. Hello Natasha, it's really exciting to have you in Lizards Lair giving some expert business advice today. So what business do you do?
Okay, so my business is called Court Creations, and it is a business where I make personalised gifts and home decor items for people. Sometimes people buy for themselves and sometimes people buy as gifts. Includes a broad range of items.
Okay, so how did you start your business? What got you up and running?
So originally back in 2012, I was on maternity leave for my first child, and I was a teacher full time, and I'd always enjoyed crafting and making things here and there. And I just started making some cards for other people, Christmas cards, something to keep me busy in that lead up to going off and actually having baby. And then I joined a craft class to learn how to make cards, and it was just a little local thing, small group, and I learned lots of different techniques and ideas. Was sharing some of the things that I'd been making on Facebook just with family and friends, and then people were asking me, oh, and saying you could make this into a business. And so then I kind of looked into it a little bit more, and then that's what I started to do. So I registered as self-employed, obviously part-time alongside teaching, which I returned to part-time, and it was something to give me a little bit of me time to be Natasha and not be mum or teacher, and just gave me a little bit of focus away from doing all the normal day-to-day things that I had to do.
So you kind of turned your hobby into a business, and you said you looked into things. So what kind of things did you look into to turn that hobby into a business?
So I was very worried about doing the wrong thing, and I wanted to make sure everything was legit and I wasn't going to be getting into any trouble. Obviously, having a job as well, that was part-time. So I spent a bit of time researching the different options that I had to become a business, and decided that a sole trader was the best option for me. But there was quite a lot of information online that was easy to sort of find and then read through and work out what was best for me, and sort of started to look at how would I go about doing it. Would it, not just to friends and family, but how could I extend that further, and then created a Facebook business page and things, and it went from there.
So you use Facebook business as kind of your platform for selling your...
Yes, still at the moment. I was going to be creating my own website, but then various different reasons it's kind of not happened as of yet. But I found that using the Facebook platform has worked quite well, but I'm looking to start adding some things into Etsy as well, which obviously is a huge market for handmade gifts online as well.
So how do you decide what gifts you want to sell then? Do you personally decide, or do you ask customers? How do you go about that bit?
That's a tough one, because my brain is, as I say, creative brain is full of ideas. So as I say, it started with just cards. Yeah. And then I kind of edged into making sort of gift frames. Someone asked me to do one for a wedding, and I had a very simple machine at the time, which kind of allowed me to cut out die cuts and you layer things. And so then I started to think, oh, this is good. And so then I started extending more and more. And my brain is always full of so many ideas. And that is something I still struggle with, because I have more ideas in my head than what I have time to make, and also for costs as well, because you don't want to buy lots of supplies to create something that then you find doesn't sell very well. So I often use polls on my Facebook, but I have a lot of sort of return customers, so they will sometimes come to me and say, oh, could you get this for me, or could you make me something like this, and send me a picture of something that they've seen that they like. And then I will look and see whether or not it's feasible. At the beginning, I used to just say yes to everything, and then spend so long trying to source the appropriate things, the materials, doing the design. And then obviously it wasn't really cost effective because I was spending so much time. So now I'm a lot more conscious to say, well, actually, that's not something that I'm in a position to do, or it's not something I do, and I might direct them to someone else who I know, or another page that I follow which does the similar sort of thing to what they're asking. Because it's not...
You've learned
I've learned to say no.
Yeah, you've learned to do your research as well. So
Yeah.
you've learned to research actually the cost involved and saying no, because you're like, well, actually, I've learned this is going to cost too much. And you talked a lot about market research as well, like listening to your customers so you know what to sell.
It's really important, yeah, because otherwise you can end up, I mean, I really love the design side of things. I really enjoy coming up with new designs. But in terms of the business, actually the things that are easier to do and the things that people ask for is simple things like a name on a bottle or a name on a, you know, certain things. So it might not be necessarily the most interesting thing to create, but ultimately that's what sells. So it's finding the balance of the two.
Yeah, and making sure you're selling so it keeps the business going.
So you can keep going, exactly. Yeah.
So what is the biggest challenge you've faced then running your business, and how have you overcome that?
I think for most people, especially if they've got children, it's time. Time is the biggest struggle, and has been. So I actually ended up sort of closing my business in 2015 because I had my second child, and that alongside of teaching and everything, it was just too much. I didn't find a way to manage the time. When I restarted in 2019, I'd left teaching, so obviously had a bit more time, but have 3 children now, so it's a little bit of a different balance. So the biggest thing for me, as I say, was figuring out how to manage my time better, making conscious decisions and plans, setting goals for what I need to do for the week, but being realistic with that and trying not to overset myself things that I then can't achieve and can't get done through the week. So being able to be flexible, and also using more of the tools that are now available, because it's even using just Facebook, there's so many more options now. They give you something called Business Suite once you set up a business page, and that allows you to set posts, so you can preset for the week so that you can post regularly, and that keeps your engagement up, so allows your posts and things to be seen by people. And now that it's linked with Instagram, that's even easier because you can use both platforms. So it's things like that, making use of that, setting a list, setting a goal, and keeping an order book. So when I do get orders, which predominantly come through via email, like messages on either the business page, but also sometimes from my personal page if it's people I know. So it's keeping an actual order book of this person's asked for this, have they paid, and doing the invoice and using PayPal to make sure that it's all kept in place, so it makes it easier to manage at the end of the year when you have to go back and say, okay, this is what I've earned and this is what I've spent and things for the tax office.
That's really good. So you really do keep yourself organised. It sounds like you're very organised.
Have
you had to build that up over time as well?
Absolutely. It was not that way at the beginning. It really wasn't. Scraps of paper here, there and everywhere over time, and especially the last 2 years where I've really had a bit more time to focus on it, because we've been predominantly at home. It's been a little bit easier, but also certain things I've not done. So obviously haven't done an in-person craft fair since pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
So that's another layer of things that when you're doing that as well, it's another layer of things to come in, and it's a lot of pressure on your time leading up to that. Whereas now it's kind of a bit more drip fed throughout, sort of on an average week.
So what's your favourite thing about being self-employed and running your own business?
I get to be flexible. That's probably the most the best thing for me, is I get to be flexible. I get to do what I'm enjoying around the children, and because we are home educating as well, it's obviously gives me that freedom to do that. Whereas if I was still teaching, they wouldn't be able to be home educated, and I wouldn't be able to do something that I enjoy. And I really love when I get emails or pictures from people when they've received their items and just saying, oh, I really love it, or it's fantastic. And it's just really nice, especially because it's personalized. That it kind of has more meaning. Not everything I make is personalized, but lots of it is. And that, especially like even simple things like a Christmas Santa sack, I did quite a lot of those last year, and that that's going to be with that child for a good number of years. It's going to be in that family's photographs for their Christmas memories, and it's something I've created, and that's in their home. So that's something that I really take sort of personal enjoyment out of, and being able to do that as self-employed means I can work that around all our other commitments, which I couldn't do if I was employed.
Yeah. So then finally, what piece of advice would you give to any budding entrepreneurs? What would you What would you say to someone that's like, I want to run my own business? What words of wisdom do you have to share?
I would say do practice runs. Think carefully about what you enjoy, because if you don't enjoy what you're doing, that can make a business become laborious and pretty tough to continue with. So really think about something that you enjoy doing, and really it is about research. Look at what is around that is similar to what you want to do. If you're in an area where there are already 10 people doing the same thing, it's going to be much harder to sell that product or that service. Use all of those tools that are around, and the internet is fantastic and makes life a lot easier in that sense. You can do that, but mainly is pick something you enjoy, do your research and do practice. Don't sell something until you've been sure, like, that it's not going to break, that it's robust, or
you mean practice, like actually practice
your product, test your product, get market research, send it to people, you know, whether that's family and friends, but ask for honest advice, and be prepared to take some criticisms that, and then use that and turn it around to make it better, because anything is only as good as you can make it. But if you don't take on board something when you've sort of given something doesn't quite work, don't give up at the first hurdle. If it's something you want to do, just keep going. I've had things go wrong, and, you know, items broke in the post once, and I was like, oh, I was devastated. It was a Christmas gift. And luckily the person was really understanding. It was, you know, it wasn't out of my control. It was well packaged. But it's just things like that, then looking at how you resolve that issue, and just being approachable. If you're providing a product or a service, make sure you're friendly, you're approachable. They're the main things I would say.
There's some really good bits of advice then. So doing all your research, you know, testing out your product, listening to criticism well, that's a really good point, and being approachable so you can listen to other people. Thank you so much for your time. That's really helpful.
No worries, good.
And we look forward to seeing how everybody's implemented that in their final business pitches. So
that would be fab.
Natasha's interview was so helpful, just seeing the ins and outs day to day, how you can run a business. So you might want to use some of those key points in your business presentations. We're getting near the end, getting ready to do your pitches now. So don't forget to check out the next video all about your final pitches with one of our judges from Twinkl. You won't want to miss it.